What's going on, you guys? Kenny from Team Star here, and today we are going to be going over the top 8 of the Senior Doom tournament that ended up unfolding last night, with Silver Tempest being legal. Now, a lot of you probably looked at this and Late Night to see exactly what would be going on. I'm not going to be covering Late Night because that is for Zach Lesage. That is his own tournament. If you guys want to go check him out in Team Shuffle Squad, go ahead and check it out on YouTube. But we are going to be checking over the Tournament of Doom because this tournament had a very, very peculiar top 8. With Late Night, I believe the two final decks were Reggie's. This one was just scattered all over the place, and I didn't really expect to see this. So I'm going to be going over the top 8 lists. There are a couple other ones within the top 16 I want to look at, but I'm going to be primarily discussing the top 8. Now, winning the entire event, we can see Jamie Chestnut with Zoroark. Jamie's list is just very straightforward. It's very reminiscent of Justin Bean's list that I ended up taking to a team challenge. Special shout out to him. Go check him out on Twitter. Where it's just primarily straightforward. You end up playing 2 Parasol so you can avoid Sableye shenanigans, Yveltal shenanigans, and Giratina shenanigans. You just play the 2 copies of Cologne in case you run into Miltank, which Jamie may have been scared of the random Miltanks index, which is completely fair. Silently, you could also recurse them if you absolutely need to. I was playing this list. The list felt really, really good. Of course, the list that I was rocking with Justin ended up playing Crymomatic, so there was a little bit of inconsistency there, but also one of the best flip cards in the game. So it's a very good list, very fast. It does handle a lot of the matchups very well. How it beat Reggie's is beyond me. I'd have to get Jamie up on here for an interview or something for that one. But speaking of Reggie's, the second place list was Reggie's, and this list is very, very interesting to me. They do play the Evolving Skies Regidrago, which makes sense. The card does 240 for 3 specific energy, which is very interesting. We've seen this card in the past. Drew Kennett did play it at what was the regional? I may have been I think it was Salt Lake, whichever one Hale ended up winning. He ended up taking a game in Swiss against Hale, and they tied. And then in top 8, I believe, he ended up losing again to Hale. But the Evolving Skies Regidrago really helped against Gudra. Moving forward, I think it's just very good for one-shotting Lugias. I don't know if it's necessary over the 3rd Regigigas, but it's definitely something to consider moving forward. And then we have the one of the Astral Radiance Regieleki, which puts a trainer card from your discard pile into your hand, which I really, really like moving forward because you're able to snipe Dunsparces, you're able to take out Ice Cubes, you're able to Serena/boss around it. So, with this list, though, you don't play Rope or Boss, or both, which is very interesting because it doesn't seem like they were scared of like Flying Pikachu or Ice Cube for the most part in any deck, which is cute in a way, but I would like to see moving forward into like a major tournament, maybe a Yellhorn, a Rope, or a Boss so you can get around it. Everything else about the list looks pretty standard. The 5 stadiums is very interesting with 3 Path and 2 Pokestop, which makes sense to an extent. I know a lot of people were bouncing between 3 to 5 stadiums. But the 3 Path, 2 Pokestop, just being able to like dig through your deck faster and be able to discard all these energy cards is very cool. You can also conserve your resources so that you don't have to research a bunch of Reggies away, and you just might be able to hit like rods or energies off of the Pokestop. So I don't know. Maybe moving forward, Reggie list will end up adapting to this list. Specifically because I'm a fan of Reggie's, and I'm pretty much convinced it's probably the best deck in format as of right now upon setup. It's literally the Greninja break of this format. Moving forward with the 3rd place list, it is quite possibly one of my favorite Lost Box lists I've seen so far. It is Lost Box with Amazing Rare Raikou. Raikou has an attack where it does 120 and 120 snipe on the bench. One of the main reasons you play this card is because Lugia is weak to lightning, and it has 220 HP, so if they don't have a Dunsparce down, you're able to do 240 to that and snipe something on the bench. Of course, if they do have Dunsparce down, you can just instantly snipe the Dunsparce, because I don't think a single Lugia list I ended up seeing played Manaphy, so that thing is not going to be protected. And if they did play Manaphy, you do have access to canceling Clone, because you could boss up the Manaphy and then knock both Dunsparce and Manaphy out, and it's going to be either really hard for Lugia to find a way out, or they may just not play another way to get them back. Of course, this list doesn't play Choice Belt, so it doesn't play a very foolproof way around a fully powered Lugia V-Star to one-shot it. But the fact that you can two-shot it as a one prizer is just very good. And I think it's a very good inclusion in most decks right now, if not any deck excuse me, that can incorporate it as of right now. I have really no complaints about this deck. I genuinely really like it. Maybe the only thing I'd like to see a little bit more is a fourth chorus and maybe a Serena. But aside from that, the list is just very, very straightforward, really good, relies on the Raikou. And in the top 4 list, we have Renfield 89 with a Crobat Weezing deck that was running around in Japan. I ended up testing, I believe, this 60, because I think this is the exact 60 that ended up doing well at an online, not an online tournament, but at the Japanese tournament. The idea of the entire deck is to get out Ariados against Lugia or against Palkia to force their energy attachments to be one more, because when it's in play, all your opponent's V-Star Pokemon attack for one more colorless. So you're able to just get turn 1 Weezing with the power of Forced Tablet or Forced Stone, which is a new tool card, which is very cool. When it's attached to a V-Star or V-Max, you're able to search your deck for any one card you want, but it does count as a V-Star power. I don't think it works on VMAX. I think it's just V and V Star. Yeah, it's just V and V Star. Yeah, that works. So you can get the turn 1 Boost Shake, which has never been easier in the Pokemon trading card game. So you get a card like that out. Just a Starbirth for half a Starbirth for literally anything is just broken. Being able to get a turn 1 Weezing is insane against a lot of decks. If you do a turn 1 against Lugia and they don't have a Serena, it is very powerful. Everything else about the list is pretty cool. The 3 Crushing Hammer, I almost want to play 4 Hammer, 4 Waves, because against Lugia, if they ever Serena or if they ever boss around the Weezing, you lose. Like, there's little ways that you can do with that, because all they need is that one turn of abilities, and they're just able to go through and blow through everything. Let's see. The Lost Box list, another one, it looks like Tord's list. I believe the only difference is I don't believe Tord played Drapion. I believe he played a 4th Switch card. Maybe I'm wrong. I'll post it in the comment section below. But this looks just very, very straightforward. The fact that it got top 8 really amazes me, because I believe this list fell out of favor, if not Lost Box fell out of favor, just because Regis was starting to see a surge in play, along with other decks that could actually abuse beating this deck, which is very interesting. But I guess with the rise of Lugia, not playing like Parasol or Espeon VMAX, it could heavily affect it. So I don't know. Maybe they're onto something and we just don't know about it. Maybe it's too soon. Ethan K at 6th place. We do have Giratina. Very, very good deck. Probably one of the decks that could stand toe-to-toe with Lugia because of the ability to play 2 Temple of Sinnoh, which cancels all effect special energies, and be extremely aggressive. The deck is insane. The one thing I wish in this list would probably be Roxanne, so you could go Roxanne Temple against Regis and then knock out their Drago. Aside from that, I really, really like the list. I really, really like that the way the list is structured. I believe this is very reminiscent of Nico Alibis, maybe Moffat's list. I don't know. I know Nico did play the one of Temple of Sinnoh in his list. This list plays 2, rightfully so. I want to see if they actually beat any Lugia players with this list. They played none, but they ended up losing to Jamie Chestnut in Swiss, which is very interesting. They ended up losing to the Weezing player, which doesn't surprise me. The list kind of crumbles if it doesn't have abilities. And one of the surprise decks for me that made top 8 was this Shadow Rider Unknown deck. Unknown V-Star has a V-Star attack to where as long as this Pokemon stays in play, your opponent's Pokemon are all weak to Psychic. 250 HP is pretty low in my opinion, but he does have access to Gardevoir plus Big Charm to make it 300 HP essentially. So it's pretty cool. Shadow Rider being able to just accelerate multiple energies, and the attack on the V-Star does 70 times for each coin, for each head you flip out of 3. So I don't know, it could be cute to say the least. One thing that I actually didn't consider when I was because this is actually take 2 was Radiant Carnivore against Lugia could be a very decent attacker because they're going to have 4 energies built on their active, and you hit them for weakness, which is really, really cute. Of course, Dunsparce, when it's in play, um, cancels out, which is dumb, but Radiant Gardevoir could actually be a fairly cool attacker against Lugia with Unknown V-Star. Is this the way to play the deck moving forward? I'm not too sure, but all I know is Collapse Stadium plus Shadow Mist auto wins Regis. Unknown V also has a very cool attack where if you're at 1 prize card remaining, you may choose to win the game. So, I don't know. Maybe the deck is... Maybe there's something to this deck that I'm just not seeing. But turning all of your opponent into weak to Psychic is very cool. Maybe I'd play it with a 1/1 Espeon VMAX just so you're not affected by Yveltal and stupid shit like that. Um, but I really like this deck. It's really, really cool. Um, and in the 8th seed, we got Mew. This is the fusion build. Already starting to spike up. I knew this would happen. Shout out to Zeester for also believing in the deck. Fusion Mew moving forward seems very good just because of the raw aggression it has, being able to one-shot Lugia's faster than the double turbo build. The double turbo build can just fall behind and it can't go second against Lugia. If it goes first against Lugia, the matchup's pretty good. If you go second against Lugia, the matchup's pretty hard, to almost unwinnable. So, with the Meloetta build, you're able to use the Forest Stone in order to grab the Elisa for the energy, and then go in deeper with like Pokemon Catcher, Fan of Waves, and other shenanigan cards. You end up boosting your damage high enough, which is very, very cool. There's nothing from the new set aside from Serena, which is kind of a standard staple moving forward, and it just seems very straightforward. Has the Lost Cities to deal with Reggie, so I can't complain with that list. Moving at ninth, this is Evan Campbell's list, one of my good friends. He ended up placing ninth with Lugia with a bunch of tech cards. So the way that he runs his list is just straightforward with little specific tech cards. He runs a 4-3 Lugia, which I'm on the 3-3 train with 4 Archeops. Because if you end up pricing 2 your Archeops, you just kind of disintegrate, and you can't ever get another one in play, so if they knock out the one, you lose. So I like a heavier Archeops, and you can actually find Lugias a lot easier. Being it you're the most numbered basic Pokemon in your entire deck, so I don't know, but he played a 4-3 and 3. I played a 1/1 Crobat VMAX. The Crobat VMAX is there from you. The matchup is still very weird, but the Crobat VMAX against an unsuspecting Mew player is very good, just because you can drop it in one shot of VMAX, you can drop it in one shot of Meloetta, and then retreat into something like a Dunsparce or anything that has a 1 prize pivot, so they have to rely on like Catcher or Serena to bring you back up and knock you out. Evan is playing the Dunsparce, which, like I said earlier, I don't know if it's like completely necessary to play as of right now, but I think if you are playing Dunsparce, you need Manaphy so they don't just snipe it or get rid of both, because Raikou is now seeing a ton of play. Yveltal makes sense, has an attack that just instantly knocks out your opponent for 5 energies, but it's easily accessible with 2 Archeops being in play with a double turbo, and then attaching a Hiding Dark and an Aurora, and the next turn going into like or not in the next turn, but by attaching a Heat Energy or something like that, you could just get it immediately. Charizard also makes sense. Having 180 HP with the Heat Fire Energy is pretty cool. Also a very good late game pivot because he does play the Choice Belt, which is cool. Plays the Raikou, of course, a very good card in the mirror match, very good card in general in a deck like this. Puckaboo to get out of path, Ice Cube to deal with Regis, but like I said, I feel like unless you're playing Manaphy, they could just Serena around it and then snipe a targeted bolt. And then the one of Luminion, I feel like Luminion is very good in a deck like this. 3-3 Research Serena, 2 Marnie, 1 Boss. I kind of agree with this. I don't know if I'd drop below 3 Marnie, but I can definitely see it. 4-4-4 all across the board in search cards. I completely agree. The 2 blowers, or the 2 vacuum, my apologies. Very interesting to see. I would prefer a second stadium just because the stadium could benefit a lot more than the lost vacuum. Because against Regis, if you drop 2 collapse stadium, because that could really hurt the Regi lines, and that forces them to find rods to get the other pieces back. As opposed to where lost vacuum is a card where you just get rid of the path immediately, / getting rid of a card out of your hand, and then never get it back. But I don't know, I guess it comes down to player preference and build. The True Choice Belt makes sense. They're also list playing Big Parasol, just so they don't get Yveltal themselves. And Regiced, which is really, really interesting. Also have access to the 1 of Collapse Stadium, and then 4 of most of the most important energies. And from there, it's just straightforward consistency in the list. At 10th place, this was Evan's one loss in the tournament. It was Arceus Beedrill. This deck was almost specifically built for Lugia and Regis. Just because the deck itself preys off of these special energy decks coming back into the format. I actually want to see what his wins were. I know one of them was Evan. He beat a Lost Team, which is very interesting. He lost a Lost Box and a Mew. So maybe he bricked against the Mew player. I know that was the top 8 seed. No, it wasn't. That wasn't the top 8 seed. I'm lying. No, it was. It was the top seed. So that was his one loss. Huh. It was one of his 2 losses. But you could see he beat Regis. He ended up beating the Arceus Goodra player. He beat the Lugia player, and somehow miraculously ended up beating the Giratina player. But the list is very interesting to say the least. It's a little tankier. The Gardevoir V-Guard Energy plus Big Charm makes it huge to swing twice. And then Beedrill to just come up and clean up these Pokemon. You can't 2-shot, 1-shot, all the good stuff. What's interesting is the 4-battle VIP pass, though, which I don't know if it's correct or not. We do see Duraludon VMAX. Of course, Duraludon is something that we all considered moving forward into the new format because it has a very solid Lugia matchup. And a very solid matchup in general against a lot of decks in the format. This list looks all over the place. Plays a 1-1 Espeon, plays a Drapion, plays a Lumineon, plays Karens. Except from that, it looks pretty standard. Maybe it's just... I don't know. I enjoy it. I guess the Espeon is there to deal with the Yveltals. I wonder if he played against any. He actually beat one of the Lugias because of it. It was Vulcan Turtle and then Supper. Oh, he dropped a 4-1. That's very interesting. Oh, he played 2 Jammer, which I guess wouldn't do anything for it. I don't know. Seeing Arceus Duraludon like that is pretty interesting. We saw a Rotom V deck actually go 5-2, beating 0 Lugias and losing to Giratina and the Zoroark 1 prize deck, which I will go off on another video. But this list is very interesting. It's very reminiscent of the one that ended up doing well not too long ago. Galarian Articuno being able to discard all the tool cards that you need to do more damage, 4 toolbox to search for him, and then Rotom just being able to Lost Zone him from, I believe, the discard pile to do 40 plus 40. So, very, very, very cool. It just takes advantage of the weakness of Lightning that's going around. And then the last deck I want to look at is Mewtwo Control, because I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, where's Control in this format right now? Control is going to be very hard just because Lugia does have access to stuff like Yveltal, does have access to powerful colorless energy, we can just one-shot. Of course, Mewtwo has an ability to where it actually stops Yveltal from one-shotting you, which is very cool. This also plays Primordial Altar, which is a new Stadium card, where you look at the top card of your deck, you may choose to discard it, which is very interesting. You're able to do plays to where if you Silene, you can either keep or just well, that doesn't make any sense. If you're Silene, you're using the card, but it allows you to every single turn just look at the top deck and be like, oh, this is a V-Union piece, I don't want this, or oh, I don't want to draw into this turn, I want to draw into the next card. Like it's a very, very cool card. I really like it, a deck like this. The fact that it went, I believe it was 4-2-1. Very interesting. It ended up losing to Zoroark, which is understandable because Zoroark hits like a truck very quickly. And Regis is very interesting, but I don't know. I thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe and like for more content. If you want to see some Silver Tempest decks, post them in the comment section below, and we'll try to get to it as fast as we possibly can. We are also testing for Toronto, Arlington, and some of those for LAIC/San Diego. So be on the lookout for that, and I'll see you guys later.